most people might read this and they might read this, Dutton goes nuclear over energy costing assumptions. This tells me nothing. This says maybe fucking the nuclear people are right. And you come right down here and they say it in plain black and white, right at the end of the fucking article, as they always fucking do, against that. It has massive disadvantages. It's incredibly expensive. The potential construction delay risk is totally unacceptable, and the technology is fundamentally unsuited to Australia's generation mix. Why don't you lead with that? Hey there, Blaze here, and today I just want to go over kind of one of my problems with the ABC. You may have heard that old adage, as a journalist, if one person tells you the sky is red and the other person says that the sky is blue, your job is not to report both things that they said. Your job is to look outside and see which one's correct. Um, I feel like that happens a lot with the ABC, and they just give non-stop airtime to Dutton at the moment. Okay, so I saw this Dutton goes nuclear over energy costing assumptions, right? And I thought, well, what assumptions? It just says Dutton goes nuclear, over energy costing assumptions. So what? He's mad. Don't tell the press I was mad. Is that it? Is that it? Okay, so let's. Deciding who is right in nuclear debate depends on your assumptions. So, okay, uh, this is a useless headline. So far, we're two headlines in and we don't know anything, right? They're giving credence to the other. Oh, maybe nuclear's not so bad. Okay, let's continue. So Ian Verinder, I don't know anything about them. They're the chief business correspondent. So they're probably talking to Gina Reinhardt a lot. I don't know. As political battles over energy burn away, Australians have been installing solar panels. Who put in that policy? When it comes to energy indecision, we're the main contenders for Olympic gold. Great. Oh, Australians have always been flip-floppy on energy. Yeah, bloody hell. Since the turn of the century, Australian politicians have been fighting over how best to keep the lights on. Howard government. So, yeah, and Tony Abbott's axing of carbon tax, the battle just goes on. And they just give non-stop airtime to the people saying that, coal's fine, gas is fine, everything's fine, actually. The so-called settled science of climate change is absolute crap. Abbott told a conference in 2017. Yeah, so on one side of the aisle, you have people denying climate change. Yeah. Let's go on. Let's go on. Uh, I think I might need to move my head out of the way. I'll move myself up here because I'm sort of stopping in the middle. So, as we come along, the large companies operating have dismissed the plan of Dutton's. So it was uncosted until last Friday. Lots of people have invested huge amounts of money in a renewable energy future. Yeah, okay. Our household rooftop revolution. Perhaps it's a coincidence, but while Canberra has been locked in a pitched battle over climate and energy for 25 years, that's from 1999 then. That was for the next 8 years, a Liberal coalition government. So, yeah, pitched battle for, yeah, until we got Kevin Rudd. It says Australian households have decided to go it alone. Australia is the global leader in household generated solar energy because Labor put in a household bloody solar generation rebate. You could get thousands of dollars off your rooftop solar. That was a Labor initiative. One side of the aisle said, hey, get solar. And yeah, nearly 4 million households and businesses have solar panels. What a concept. What a concept. Ah. Yeah, so these coal-fired generators have found their profits undercut by a flood of cheap solar throughout the day. Yeah, okay, all right. So it's not profitable to be a coal power generator in Australia. Okay, go away. We'll buy them. The state can buy them. The state can own them, and then it doesn't have to be for profit. But wait a minute. So they're talking about profit. They're talking about profit. They're forcing them to operate at a loss. That's because as baseload generators, they can't be shut down. The same economic forces will play havoc with the profitability of nuclear plants. Hey, what do you know? They're talking about profits. But wait, entirely funded by the taxpayer. It's the same thing as a goddamn NBN argument. The Liberals have come out and said, oh, we want to sell the NBN eventually. Why? Why do you want to sell the NBN eventually? It's a core bloody internet service that the whole country runs on now. You need NBN. You know, you don't even have a fucking phone line anymore because it's all NBN. That was probably a coalition bungle, but it's all NBN. So why would you want to sell it? It's the only broadband network. It's a national broadband network. Don't sell it. It's a vital service that everyone uses. Don't sell it for profit. It's a natural monopoly. What the hell are you doing, you idiots? They're not idiots. They're corporate puppets. They want someone, a donor, to make lots of money from us selling the NBN to them that then millions of Australians will have to pay into. And they're talking about it here with the nuclear power that will be funded entirely by the taxpayer. And then the ABC runs defense and says, oh, but it won't be profitable. It won't be profitable. What the hell? So the assumption is what? That we want to make lots of profit into the state, that we want the state to make lots of profit from the state-owned nuclear plants? Or what's the problem here? What's the problem that energy will be cheap? Because that's the argument here. But energy will be cheap. What is the problem? There are lots of manufacturing jobs. There's lots of manufacturing, smelting iron, creating green hydrogen. There's lots of manufacturing where it's like, geez, if only energy was cheap, then we could make lots of money making this really important thing that the whole world needs. There are lots of industries like that. And the main problem is energy isn't cheap. I mean, fucking Bitcoin, right? Like, for all the tech pros out there, wouldn't it be a shame if energy was cheap? God. Anyway, we're about halfway through the article, and their thing is, oh, geez, it's been such a cluster. From one side of the aisle. One side of the aisle wants to stay in the past and make sure the coal barons get their money. The other side wants to go into the future. Okay? Oh, geez, we're flip-flopping. No, occasionally, the coalition's in power and they fuck everything up. Labour wants to go in one direction. Okay? And then, look at this, yeah? Household, going it alone. Completely dismissing the fact that it was on one side of the aisle that said, here's some money, get solar. I'm not going to bring up the graph, but you know the fucking graph. You know, oh, solar over time, then after the fucking Labour thing, Kevin '07. I think that was actually Gillard, maybe, like 2009, 2010. Anyway. Meddling, assumptions, and modelling. The battle lines in the debate between nuclear power and renewable energy will be largely fought over economics and costings, and both sides will argue that their technology is cheaper. Okay? The coalition, armed with the study that it has commissioned, argues nuclear is the cheapest. The CSIRO, a government instrumentality, has argued for years that it is the most expensive. I mean, that's in line with global experts such as Lazard and Bloomberg New Energy Finance. How could that possibly be? Why is there such a huge divergence? Yeah, and the answer revolves around the assumptions that are made, and there are many, from what interest rate you employ to the generator's lifespan, the construction time, and the amount of time they actually run. Oh, gee, yeah, if you think anything, yeah, if you just make a bunch of assumptions, if you assume, for example, that Gina Reinhardt, you know, she controls a bunch of our uranium mines in Australia. If you assume that she, from the goodness of her heart, once we're reliant on nuclear as a baseload power generator, won't increase the price of uranium, you know, once we need it for electricity to keep the lights on, hopefully she just won't charge us more. I mean, the nuclear people on that side keep saying, oh, geez, there's so much nuclear getting made all of the world. Yeah, okay, so increased demand means that the price will go up. Have they factored that in? Probably not. Oh, we've got abundant resources that one billionaire in Australia owns most of. So, yeah, so the coalition was critical of the CSIRO for several of its assumptions. It argued that because nuclear plants had a longer lifespan, the numbers stacked up better. Their costings only go for 25 years, um, even though I'm pretty sure the plants only last 25 years, so they don't include having to do it again. So that's great. Pretty sure the renewable ones go for 50 years, whereas the nuclear ones only go for 25 years. Anyway, it also argued that CSIRO should assume that nuclear plants would run 93% of the time for their entire life. Like coal, because nuclear plants are so expensive to build, they need to run almost non-stop to generate any kind of return and recoup their costs. Again, much of the recouping of costs from creating a whole bunch of energy is to enable energy intensive industries. So, it's one of the things that has been going on about with the renewable revolution in Australia is that if you have lots of power, you can use excess power to do energy intensive things. You can make green hydrogen. Did you know that you can run an engine and you can have tankers full of fuel, but instead of the fuel being oil, it can be electrolyzed hydrogen or something? I don't really know how it works. But you could use hydrogen and you could put it into tankers, similar to how you put oil into tankers to drive boats and planes and shit. So when people complain about like trucks, electric trucks, oh, geez, the batteries are so heavy. Because they're so heavy, you won't be able to store as much load. Well, what if you're running a hydrogen truck? Oh, well, that'd be fine then, actually, and you could still go like 1,000 kilometers before needing to refuel. Well, why don't we do that? Oh, well, hydrogen's expensive because you need a lot of electricity. Well, we'll make lots of electricity. Rant. So, oh, well, I don't know anyway. Oh, gee, fucking, oh no. So yeah, while nuclear plants do operate at that level in the US, the global average is just 80%. So in the US, they run like 93% of the time, but the global average is just 80%. Yeah. When it comes to longevity, most finance experts agree that it does make a difference, but only marginally. Look at the system, not the source. The CSIRO assumed a 30-year lifespan because that is the usual loan term of a bank. Plus, after that time, nuclear plants, like any other form of machinery, need to be seriously overhauled. Wait. So is it because that's the usual line, or is it because, like fucking everything, they need to be seriously overhauled? Man, former investment banker David Like argues that because renewables flood the power system during the day, causing wholesale energy prices to plummet, no rational operator would run a nuclear plant during daylight hours, let alone 5 to 10 of them. Essentially, you could do your costings with the assumption you'll run them 93% of the time, but for practical purposes, you'd be mad to run them for more than 70%, which would then ruin the economics. Again, yeah, the economics. Like it's funny that they're saying, geez, like nuclear wouldn't be profitable. Like, uh, it's madness that this is what they're coming at. Because remember, they said they said to be funded entirely by the taxpayer. So we want to run a for-profit energy business. That's the Liberals' pitch. It depends on your assumptions. Do you assume that we want to run it for the good of all people, or do you assume that we're going to build it and then sell it? So, depending depending on your assumptions, who's right? Who's right? I mean, look, we want to make a really sweet investment deal for some asshole who'll buy all our nuclear after we build it. Fuck's sake. Oh, jeez. Yeah, the trouble is that nuclear is a terrible companion to renewables, they reckon. Yeah, scale up and down is needed to firm renewables. Countries like France can only make nuclear work by exporting large amounts of energy when it's surplus to demand. Oh, man. Oh, it's got some advantages. It's carbon free. Like, what is this? It's just. Against that, it has massive disadvantages. It's incredibly expensive. The potential construction delay risk is totally unacceptable, and the technology is fundamentally unsuited to Australia's generation mix. The fuck is this? Like, keep in mind, most people might read this and they might read this, Dutton goes nuclear over energy costing assumptions. This tells me nothing. This says maybe fucking the nuclear people are right. And you come right down here, and they say it in plain black and white, right at the end of the fucking article, as they always fucking do. Against that, it has massive disadvantages. It's incredibly expensive. The potential construction delay risk is totally unacceptable, and the technology is fundamentally unsuited to Australia's generation mix. Why don't you lead with that? By the way, like, it could maybe work, but it's real shit. For the next few months, in the lead up to the election, we'll be bombarded with competing arguments, and we won't help. We, the ABC, will just sit on our ass. We'll say, oh, maybe both sides. And then we'll put this right at the end. Like 2% of readers will actually get to this. Just so you know, 80% of people don't read past the headline. I read that in a headline once. And yeah, and it's just very upsetting. It's very upsetting that all of this continues. Um, in a techno-punk future where we're launching spaceships, um, and we want to have massive amounts of electricity just in the grid everywhere. Yeah, it makes sense to have some kind of fusion or nuclear or some shit. But we've got such good renewable stuff, and we're in this system that we call capitalism. It's just bad. It's just bad to like spend a shit ton of money because then the interest rates will go up and your repayments on your house will triple. So we can't do that. But they want to do it. They want your interest rates to go up because what will the RBA say to this? Anyway, what does this even say? While the debate rages over where to go with large-scale energy generation, along with the potential for a taxpayer-funded nuclear giant to imperil the huge private investment already made in large-scale wind and solar farms, one thing is certain. Ordinary Australians will continue to slap solar panels on their roofs, massively subsidised because of Labor, to escape the entire drama caused by the coalition, and decide the future without Canberra. Fuck me dead. This is journalism. Anyway, yeah. I don't think the ABC does a very good job at disseminating information for people, and they suck.